Welcome to the Athena Wellness Podcast, the show that invites you to take a seat around the community fire and listen to stories that inspire. I'm your host, Kathy Robinson, author, coach, and founder of Athena Wellness, a company that's dedicated to supporting you as you create your next chapter, turning life transitions into transformation. Hello and welcome, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. This is the 6th episode of the Rewild Your Well-being series, a powerful invitation to explore, reimagine, and create your most fulfilling chapter yet, using nature as a catalyst. If you've ever spent time and energy preparing for a big, exciting goal only to have plans change at the last minute, this episode is for you. Join me as I share the story of a much-anticipated overnight backpacking trip, my first, and the sudden change of plans that almost derailed the entire experience. We'll talk about honoring your physical and mental preparation, a resource that can never be lost. We'll also discuss how to overcome the feeling of wasted effort and how to move forward on your own terms. I'll also share a new try this exercise, a simple practice to realign your energy the next time your plans shift unexpectedly. In addition, if you like to hike or camp, I have a new PDF that you'll love. It's a packing list that includes a special link for the good-to-go food that I mentioned in the episode. Download it for free at athenawellness.com/outdoors. I'll also put a link in the show notes. And now on to the show. This is a fun one, and I hope you enjoy it. Have you ever made a decision to venture out of your comfort zone and then spend tons of energy to prepare yourself for it, only for plans to change? I'm Kathy Robinson, and that's exactly what happened to me a few months ago. This is a story about preparing for an experience and what to do when it all goes awry. It's about summoning the courage to act on a dream, in this case, my first overnight backpacking trip. We'll talk about the power of preparation and the growth that occurs when it's done mindfully. I'll also share a response reset practice to help you honor your upfront effort when things change and you unexpectedly find yourself back at square one. But it all begins with preparation. You know how it works. You have an idea of something monumental that you really want to experience, and you tuck it in the back of your mind. Maybe it's a place like visiting the Taj Mahal, or a natural phenomenon like witnessing the Northern Lights. Sometimes it's an activity like running a marathon. I find as I get older, it's about doing the things I always wanted to do while I still have the capacity to do them. That's how an overnight backpacking trip rose to the top of my list. What better way to rewild my own well-being? I'm 61, and while I hope to be able to hike and backpack for decades, you never know. It gets real when you hit that 60-year mark. So when the opportunity to join a small group of women on a backpacking excursion arose this summer, I jumped on it. The decision to take on a trip wasn't just about going. It was also about committing to the process of preparing. Like any former corporate professional, I love a good plan. But this time, the preparation was far more than logistics. Being out in the wilderness doesn't come naturally. I spent my early years in a concrete city about a mile from Manhattan. So a big part of preparing was the conscious practice of aligning my mindset with the task at hand. The preparation fell into 3 categories, each with its own lessons. Number 1, the lesson of durability. This was the easiest of the 3. I've been building functional strength and endurance at CrossFit during my runs and on the hiking trails, so I felt I had the ability to carry a weighted pack over uneven ground. Even so, I never tried hiking for miles with significant weight on my back, including all my gear, food, and water. Number two, the lesson of essentialism. I spent hours researching the gear I needed with the intent to buy the minimum needed for this experiment. Even though I spent years on airplanes armed only with carry ons, I am a chronic overpacker. And I delight in my van excursions when I can pack for a trip without thought. But the main principle of backpacking is that every ounce counts. You're the one responsible for hauling it all. So for every item I considered, I had to ask if it was truly necessary for survival and well-being, or was it designed for a backpacking trip? In addition, I had to shed the metaphorical weight of outdated beliefs and fears that would surface from time to time. What it would be like in the wilderness in the middle of the night. Lesson number three, the lesson of letting go. As the trip drew near, I continued testing my gear and walking with a loaded pack and planning for contingencies. I also kept an eye on the weather. I was thrilled that the forecast looked perfect. No rain and temperatures in the 60s and 70s. As the nervous anticipation built, I reminded myself that I had done all the preparation I could. I built the strength, invested the time, and learned how to organize my pack. I was excited about trying and sharing a brand new backpacking food that I found online. Now it was all about letting go, trusting the process, and enjoying the experience. 3 days before the trip, I got an email from the trip leader. She had a family emergency and had to cancel. I stood in my kitchen looking at the email on my phone and then to the foyer where all of my new backpacking gear was laid out, ready for final assembly. A strange mix of emotions followed. First and foremost, empathy and compassion for the leader and the real life emergency that she was dealing with. That was followed by a jolt of disappointment, like coming to a screeching halt after running at top speed. If I'm honest, it was a little bit of relief, but not much. All in all, I wanted to see if I could navigate an overnight backpacking trip, and more importantly, if I'd enjoy it. But the loss I felt was less about the trip itself and more about not wanting to waste all of the time and energy that I had dedicated and focused to preparing myself for this trip. So instead of letting the cancellation set me back, I asked myself a critical question. How can I use all of this intentional energy I've created to define my own meaningful adventure? I paced around the kitchen, wondering if there was a way to honor this effort, regardless of outcome. The hiking group that was hosting the now canceled backpacking trip had an online calendar with all of their outings listed for the coming weeks. I pulled up the group's website, and to my surprise, there was a 6-mile hike coordinated by another hiking leader on the day the backpacking trip was originally set to launch. I immediately reserved my spot and felt that a plan was just starting to coalesce. I woke up on the day the big trip was supposed to launch, felt excited to see what the day had in store. Driving into New York State in silence, I marveled at the morning light. The state park is more than 45,000 acres, so it took a while to navigate to the trailhead. I was the first to arrive, so I stretched my legs, meandering around the edge of a lake for a while. Then I double-checked the contents of my day pack, which was so much lighter than the one that I had planned to use for the day. The hikers arrived one by one, and we assembled, exchanging hugs and pleasantries. We spent a good portion of the day enjoying the trails and the views. We even caught a glimpse of the Manhattan skyline 35 miles away. One of the hikers was an experienced forager, so we also enjoyed wild blueberries and huckleberries along the way. I drove home smiling, reflecting on a wonderful day in the woods with friends and for what was ahead. Because when I got home, I stayed in my hiking clothes as if I was on a backpacking trip. I grabbed my heavy pack and found a suitable place on my property to pitch my tent. Once that was set, I inflated a thin sleeping pad and unrolled my sleeping bag. A backpacking chair completed the setup. Then I headed off to gather firewood and kindling. A lot of animals roam the woods that surround my home, including bears and coyotes. So I started a campfire as a deterrent. I wasn't worried too much about the scent of food since my rations consisted of pre-portioned backpacking meals that are rehydrated with boiling water. That may not sound too inspiring, but I was excited about my dinner. I recently found a company, Good to Go, that produces gourmet dehydrated meals for outdoor enthusiasts. I tried them earlier in the year when I was on a week-long band trip, and I was impressed. The meals are handcrafted in Maine by chefs, not scientists, and you can pronounce every ingredient on the label. No chemicals. As I set up my backpacking stove to boil the water, I remembered how hard it was to decide which meals to take with me. Cuban rice bowl, pad thai, pasta? I went with mushroom risotto. It seemed like an eternity waiting the 20 minutes for the meal to truly hydrate, but it was worth it. Maybe it was all the outdoor activity or just being outside or the excitement of trying something new. But the meal tasted fantastic and it left me wanting more. As the sun went down, the soundscape changed and the unexpected adventure began. I could see my house, but became more attuned to the noises of the night, like rustling of the leaves. There was a call of an owl, and the trill of the tree frogs began. As the fire burned out, the first quarter moon made the constellations, along with Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn, easily visible with the naked eye. These were the same stars and planets I would have seen had I been sitting with the backpacking group in the New York wilderness. As I stared at the sky, I realized how content I felt. I recalled the lyrics from a 1990s Bruce Cockburn song, The Last Night of the World. The chorus of that song asks, "This were the last night of the world, what would I do that was different?" Watching the glow of the embers and the fire, I just allowed myself to feel a deep sense of peace that was not contingent on any external trip or circumstance. All the rewilding I yearned for was right there in that moment, and it filled me with presence and gratitude. Before turning in for the night, I unhooked the rainfly from the tent so I continued to glance up at the sky. I settled into my sleeping bag, thinking about camp coffee and the good to go granola that was waiting for me for breakfast. As I drifted off to sleep, I was reminded once again that the true reward is never the destination. It's who you become in the process. Now to you. How can you apply this life lesson? The next time a plan is unexpectedly derailed, I invite you to try a response reset, a brief practice designed to honor your efforts and reap the internal rewards. Here are the steps. 1. Acknowledge the load. Feel the full effect and emotional burden of the disappointment and the potential wasted effort. Reflect on what was lost externally as a result of this change in plans. Number 2, identify the internal opportunity. Now shift your focus to your preparation. What inner rewards were gained and what can't be lost? For me, it was the solitude and connection to the outdoors and the resilient creativity to find a new way. For you, it might be new skills, a new experience, or the courage you summoned to commit in the first place. And number 3, chart your course. Use your internal reward to fuel your next action. Determine your options to redefine your challenge to move forward on your own terms. How can you create a meaningful adventure right here, right now? This simple, intentional process moves you out of the emotional weight of loss and puts you back in your power, focused on forward momentum. I hope this episode has inspired you to do some discovering. If you're curious or drawn to the outdoors and would like to explore your local trails or try an overnight excursion in your own backyard, I created a resource to help. The hiking and camping packing list includes everything I take on a day hike, along with all that's needed for an overnight backpacking trip. The PDF also includes resources, including a special link for the latest good-to-go food offers. You can download the PDF for free at athenawellness.com/outdoors. I'll also put a link in the show notes. Use this list to spark and support your own unexpected adventure. Enjoy some great food in the process. And remember, a wonderful way to rewild your spirit can literally be found in your own backyard. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know there are many ways you can spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me. Until our paths cross again, be kind to yourself and show your warrior spirit some love. If you know anyone who could benefit from today's episode, please pass it on. And many thanks for supporting the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It means a lot and it helps others find their way to our circle. If you'd like to access the show notes, have a question you'd like addressed on a future episode, or would like a transcript of this episode, visit www.athenawellness.com/podcast. Until next time, be well.